Good morning and welcome to Secret Skyline, your daily briefing on everything happening in the skies above us. I'm your host, and we have got a packed show for you today. Boeing is back in the headlines again, an astronaut's emergency in orbit, a near disaster in the American heartland, and airlines facing a brutal summer of rising costs. Let's get you up to speed. We start in Frankfurt, Germany, where on Thursday afternoon, a scene that looked straight out of a disaster movie played out live at Gate A15 of Frankfurt Airport. A brand new Lufthansa Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner, just 5 months old, delivered in January, was being prepared for its long-haul flight to Los Angeles. Passengers were about to board, the ground crew was doing final checks, and then, without warning, at precisely 12:45 in the afternoon, the nose of the aircraft just dropped to the ground. The nose landing gear collapsed suddenly while the jet was parked at the gate, injuring several people and causing significant damage to the nearly factory-fresh aircraft. Only crew members and ground staff were on board at the time. No passengers had yet boarded, but 2 cabin crew and 2 ground service employees were taken to hospital with injuries. The flight to Los Angeles was, of course, cancelled. Germany's aviation authorities launched a formal investigation, and Boeing engineers are now examining hydraulic systems, maintenance records, and sensor data to figure out how a 5-month-old aircraft's nose just gave way. Now, here's the uncomfortable part. This is not the first time a 787 has done exactly this. In 2021, a British Airways Dreamliner's nose collapsed at Heathrow in a remarkably similar fashion during maintenance. And Boeing's 787 program has been plagued for years by production quality issues. So the question being asked in aviation circles right now is this an isolated mechanical failure, or is there something more systemic going on? Investigators will tell us, eventually. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in New Jersey, United Airlines is dealing with its own uncomfortable week. A Boeing 767 struck a light pole during its approach to the Newark Liberty International Airport, and the incident has triggered a fleet-wide safety bulletin from United Airlines, prompting industry-wide discussion about stabilized approach criteria and pilot decision-making in the critical final moments of landing. 231 people were on board that flight. Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt. But hitting infrastructure on approach, a light pole, of all things, is exactly the kind of incident that keeps aviation safety investigators awake at night. Newark has had a rough stretch lately, and this one is now under active review. If you're planning to fly this summer, better be ready to pay, because the airlines certainly are. Airline leaders are preparing for a difficult summer season as conflict in the Middle East drives fuel costs upward and forces longer routings around affected airspace. Longer routes mean more fuel burned, which means higher operating costs, which, as we all know, eventually means higher ticket prices for you and me. And in a move that affects every passenger from 30,000 feet down, American Airlines and JetBlue have both introduced a new safety protocol this week. The captain's pre-landing announcement for cabin crew to secure the cabin will now come at 18,000 feet rather than 10,000. That's double the altitude of the previous threshold. The reason? More reaction time, more preparation. Fewer surprises in those final critical minutes before touchdown. It's a small change, but in aviation, small changes save lives. Not everything this week was dramatic. Let's head to South America, where there was a genuine celebration at José Joaquín de Olmedo International Airport in Guayaquil, Ecuador. Iberia's flagship wide-body aircraft, an Airbus A350, touched down to a warm welcome as the Spanish carrier brought its newest jet to the route. Red carpets, dignitaries, the works. Sometimes aviation is just beautiful, and this was one of those moments. And finally, we look straight up, because this week, even orbit wasn't safe from drama. On Friday, June 5th, NASA ordered 5 astronauts aboard the International Space Station to suit up, shelter inside their docked Crew Dragon escape craft, and prepare for emergency evacuation, after a worsening air leak was detected in the Russian segment of the station. The 4 Crew 12 astronauts, NASA's Jessica Meir and Jack Hathaway, France's Sophie Adenauer, and Russian cosmonaut Andrei Fedyayev, spent tense hours in their suits while the Russian crew attempted repairs. Less than 2 hours later, the all clear was given. They climbed back out, but the leak is still there. And the broader question, whether the aging ISS can realistically be extended beyond its planned 2030 retirement, just got a lot more complicated. That's your Aviation Daily for June 8th. Stay safe up there, keep your seatbelts fastened even when the sign is off, and we'll see you tomorrow with the latest from the world of aviation, so you'd better hit that subscribe button.